Hello, this is the State of North Carolina Residential Property and Owners Association Disclosure Statement. The top of this document has instructions to property owners of how to fill out this form. As you get down to some of the blanks here, the first blank is inserting the property address, as well as the owner's names, also known as the sellers. Those sellers will sign here where it says owner signature. Once the buyer receives this form, the buyers will sign here acknowledging that they have received it. The property address goes in this blank here. As a seller filling out this form, you'll answer these questions to the best of your ability. You'll either check yes, no, or no representation for most of these items on this form. The seller has to accurately report this information to the best of their knowledge. Some of the questions on this form include when was the dwelling constructed? When was the house built? You'll put that answer in the blank in the form of a year. It asks about if there's any problems with the dwelling's foundation or interior, exterior walls, doors, structural components. The seller will check yes, no, or no representation. Understand that the no representation column simply means that the seller is unsure and cannot accurately represent whether it is a yes or a no to whatever this question is asking. It goes on to ask about the dwelling's exterior walls and what they're made of. When the roof was installed, this blank will have a year here. If there's any leakage or problems with the dwelling's roof, any water seepage, problems with the electrical system, problems with the plumbing system, any defects with the heating and air conditioning unit. What is the dwelling's heating source? Here you'll check one of these boxes. Also, if you know the age of the system, you'll include that there as well. What's the dwelling's cooling source, fuel source, water supply source, and what are the water pipes made out of? These are all questions where you'll fill in, you'll check one of the boxes here. Then it goes on to ask if there's any issue with the dwelling's water supply. You'll check, as a seller, we'll check yes, no, or no representation. Moving on to talk about the disposal system. If there's information about the septic system, if it's on a septic tank, and if it has a septic permit, these questions are all asked on here. Goes on to ask a considerable amount of more questions. Even goes on to ask about if there's any issues with past infestation of wood, destroying insects or termites that hasn't been repaired. Soil stability. All these questions are being asked specifically about this particular property and whether the seller has knowledge of these items. As you continue to move down, you'll see this part here after question 31, where it says if you answered yes to any of those questions, please explain and attach additional sheets if necessary. This area here is where you can provide those explanations. And then as you move down a little further, there's more questions in relation to any HOA or covenants and restrictions that the house may have by being in a particular area. Then it goes on to ask about the HOA specifically. If there's a homeowners association, that information is going to be inserted into these lines here. The amount of money that it costs per whatever increment of time, whether it's a monthly fee, a semi-annual fee, a yearly fee, that's going to be included here. And then the contact information for the HOA company is going to be here. There are 2 slots for inserting information. Some communities have more than one HOA, so that's what that section here is for. On each of these pages, the buyer is going to initial and the owner seller is also going to initial in these boxes. And then here's additional information about the disclosure statement, that if you answered yes to question 33, there's going to be additional information that is needed for the HOA. And then lastly, it asks specific questions about what amenities are paid for by the Owners Association, and you'll check yes, no, or no representation for every item that you see here. Now keep in mind, if the house does not have an HOA, then you will not have to answer these questions at the bottom. And then to conclude this document, there's another buyer initial block as well as an owner's initial block that will be filled out here. This is the Residential Property and Owners Association Disclosure Statement for the state of North Carolina.